Why are African leaders after Ibrahim Traore? And why is Tinubu after an Ibrahim Traore? Merci de vous joindre à nous. Now let us quickly have a dive in into why Tinubu wants an Ibrahim Traore to fall. You must understand that when we had the military regime, precisely Abacha, when Nigeria had one of its most stable economy, the powers that be that wanted Nigeria to fall into anarchy were the French. And during this period, we saw how all of a sudden Tinubu became an emergency protester and an activist. And along the line, Tinubu somehow financed some protests. Using the body called NADECO. They call it National Democratic Coalition People. However, when Tinubu was exposed to be financing using some illicit funds, because in his early years, there has been report that Tinubu was into drug cases in the United States of America. And for that reason, he had so much money at his beck and call, and he was able to finance the Nigerians who are predominantly poor and of course uninformed. However, when this information got into the tips of Senate General Sani Abacha, he launched a manhunt for Tinubu, and Tinubu had to abscond through the route of the Benin, which is the current day Cotonou, into France. And from that period of time, Tinubu became a very close ally with one of the biggest billionaires the France has, which is the Chaguri. We know who the Chaguri is. I'm going to talk about him. We're going to look at why Chaguri, as of today, who he is to Tinubu, and most importantly, why is Tinubu becoming the greatest enemy of the West African development? Well, let me tell you that shortly after Tinubu became the president, right, Tinubu was welcomed. He was welcomed at the French State House. He had a very elaborative, a very luxurious state welcoming. And then we all began to ask, why is it that it is only France that is giving Tinubu this high level of legitimacy? Because we all know how Tinubu's election 2023 went viral, which was predominantly controversial. So many Nigerians, out of over 30 something that voted, 50 to 60% of them say they do not recognize Tinubu as their president, because the oppositions, which are Peter Obi and Atiku, collectively had more votes than Tinubu. Tinubu, whose numbers of votes to this day are still contested, even if the Supreme Court of Nigeria, that has been argued to have been captured by the government of Tinubu, have announced and pronounced him as the president. As it stands today, the opposition candidates are still saying that Tinubu's election that was won was never free and fair. And of course, the Nigerian people who voted this opposition candidate will continue to say, the likes of Aisha Yusufu, so many of them out there have continually said that Tinubu is not their legitimate president. But for this legitimacy purpose, I don't know how Tinubu was able to organize it. But there's one thing that is sure and certain, that legitimacy celebration would not come for free. The French, that colonized the most countries in Africa, has been seen and explained to be the most brutal colonial masters. Most of the countries they colonized, they left them in penury. Do you want to go to the central of Africa? The likes of Congo, the likes of DRC Congo, because the French colonized them, then the Belgium came. You take a look at the Algerians. They all had what we call a bloody revolution into their independence. Take a look at the West Africa. Most countries in West Africa were colonized. About 80% of them were colonized by the France. The French country colonized about 80% of them, I think just about 3 countries was not colonized by the French. 2 wasn't colonized at all, and I think that is Liberia. Sierra Leone was colonized by the British. Nigeria was colonized by the British. Then you have Ghana, which was colonized by the British. So most of these French countries haven't gone through the French Revolution, French colonization, till this very day are still heavily influenced and entrapped by the French powers. Immediately, Tinubu came. He was asked by Emmanuel Macron, we need you to invade Niger Republic. Niger Republic, as you can see on my screen, have a very close tie. Culturally, in terms of language, they are cousins to the northern part of Nigeria. In fact, the language that is predominant in the northern Niger of Nigeria just got an approval to become the official language, right? The official language of Niger Republic, and that language is Hausa, right? Tinubu was asked, go and invade Niger Republic. It was Emmanuel Macron that sent that order, and we saw how almost instantly Tinubu wanted to do that. But a journalist called David Ondenyi, he exposed that communique from Macron, and for that very reason, the northern senators all voted against, they all voted against such an invasion. That if he tries to do this, then he probably wants to put the northern part of Nigeria, he wants to throw them into anarchy. That was the signal. That was the thing that made the Sahel states to, as a matter of urgency, shift their alliance from France into Russia. Because that very move that Tinubu wanted to make identifies Tinubu as the perfect tool which Macron wants to use to destabilize those 3 critical states. Macron, who has been extracting the raw materials of lithium to power Paris, to power Marseille, to power Lyon, to power Saint-Etienne. These are the communities of cities. They go into Niger Republic, they go into Mali. These are countries that are heavily rich in lithium. But somehow the French will go there, they deny the indigents the technology to add value to their raw materials. Whenever any one of them tries to go and acquire the technology, it gets missing, and before you know it, and that's the end of that person. Every inventors, every innovators, every producers within these Sahel states, Burkina, Mali, and Niger, have always been wiped out by the French forces. So Tinubu came and he wanted to deepen that influence, and that was an instruction that nudged Ibrahim Traore to call his brothers. He said, listen guys, we have to exit this body called the Economic Community of West African States, that it is of no use. ECOWAS, that was established in 1977 or thereabout, right? It has never for once led any developmental scheme or agenda or educational inventions within the axis of the West Africa. Ibrahim Traore began to have problem with Tinubu when Ibrahim came out and said, listen, of what benefit has ECOWAS been to my state, to my country, from the fact that we share a common exam, which is the WAEC, West African Examination Council? Other than that, has the standard of WAEC ever been increased? Has the students of WAEC been in any way been productive? Then Ibrahim Traore said, we have to shift away from this era of the past that we've made, And Ibrahim Traore has said that doing the same thing for decades and then you are expecting a different result is nothing short of but insanity. This threw a very hard dagger through the heart of Tinubu. And ever since, Tinubu has been restless. He has been found to have launched all manner of campaigns against this young man, Ibrahim Traore. Ibrahim Traore, who within the period of 2022 to this day, just about approximately, not up to 3 years, but let's say 3 years, he has been able to reduce the dependency of Burkina Faso on the French factories. Within this period of 2 years, Ibrahim Traore has been able to build factories. He has been able to build a tomato paste making factory. Ibrahim Traore has been able to create a cotton milling factory. Ibrahim Traore has been able to expand road pavements. These are roads constructions for a period of over 60-something years. When Burkina Faso got independence in the 1960s, they have not had over 5,000 kilometers. Despite having the French there, most of the companies within the period of 1960 to this very day are French owned. They didn't carry out any citizen social responsibility or corporate social responsibility to build roads, to build schools. In that same Burkina Faso, they do not have up to 50 universities. So you see that the French just wanted them to remain in that state of stagnancy. But somehow, God empowered Ibrahim Traore, emboldened him, made him that a reincarnation of Thomas Sankara. And of course, today, they are so crazy about him that he has to go down. But let's take a look at Tinubu, who has launched a campaign of destruction against Ibrahim Traore. Tinubu, who has been in power going to 2 years now, under him, over 700 factories or companies have left Nigeria, which has now further deepened the Nigerian dependency on imported products. Do we talk about the likes of Sanofi? Do you want to talk about the likes of Nestle? Do you want to talk about the likes of May and Baker? Do you want to talk about the likes of PZ? These are companies that create toothpaste, soaps, detergent. Most of these companies, like I said, over 700 of these factories have left. These are the machinations of a Western power stooge, that when they come in, they paralyze domesticated factories for foreign companies to come in. Then they also weaken the currency of that country. The two critical policies that Tinubu took when he came on board, that he is so damn proud of, are the tools of the Western powers, which are first and foremost expose your economy. A developing nation, you are told to expose your economy to the market forces. An economy that does not have stable electricity, an economy that does not have a functional refinery, I'm talking about Nigeria, yeah? An economy that you are told that do not defend your currency, right? Allow your currency to float. So if a Western investor brings in $1 million, with that $1 million, he can just outcompete your local producers and manufacturers. These were what Tinubu was told to do. And immediately on May 29, 2023, when he became the president, these were the first policies he took without even thinking it through. So we understand today that, of course, indeed, that Tinubu has been displayed and he has demonstrated that he is the perfect tool for the French colony. Now, going on, Tinubu is still disturbed because the good deeds of Ibrahim Traore are being currently televised. We are in the era of social media, and everything Ibrahim Traore is doing, under 3 years, Ibrahim Traore has built a house to accommodate nothing less than 5,000 Burkina babes who don't have house. Ibrahim Traore has built a low-cost housing. Ibrahim Traore just announced some days ago free education for all the Burkina Faso children. These are policies that the Western hegemonies are always against. Don't forget, in the 1974, when the Nigeria wanted to introduce the structural adjustment product, I think 74 or 84 thereabout, under Buhari, he was told that he has to lift the subsidy on education, he has to lift the subsidy on the Nigerian currency, he has to expose the Nigerian to the market forces, while they are aware that first and foremost, Nigeria has not gotten 24 hours power electricity. Nigeria does not have good roads network. While they are aware that if Nigeria should expose its economy to market forces, all its local factories and manufacturers will be outcompeted because they do not have what we call that cost advantage of large scale production. And this is why you see today that a Nigerian who produces a fabric in Aba, if he produces it for $10, but because Nigeria has exposed its currency to the market forces, the imported fabric, which is of the same material, will cost $2. As a consumer, which would you go for? But if you look at it on the long run, you will know that the local manufacturer is the one that suffers. And these are what Tinubu is doing, and the Nigerian people are now becoming enlightened. Haven't seen the light at Burkina Faso. So many Nigerians have been to Burkina Faso. Just some days ago, Wademaya, one of the most influential YouTubers in Africa, was in Burkina Faso, and he said something so shocking. He said Burkina Faso are sleeping on the road to ensure their president does not kill by the French colonial masters. That the Burkina Faso are ready to lay their lives on ground to protect their president, Ibrahim Traore, who is just 36 years old. This is nothing but beyond high level of patriotism. This is nothing but beyond high level of sense of ownership. This is nothing but beyond high level of nationhood. In Nigeria, we the citizens are struggling with what we call identity crisis. In Nigeria, we the citizens don't even know who we are, not to talk of we laying our lives to protect the president. When I mean Nigerians, I'm talking about a common civilian, a common citizen. When you ask on the road of Lagos, on the street of Kano State, if you ask them, would you lay your life to protect your president? They might just stone you till your head breaks into pieces. Because this country is nothing but a ghost of a nation. And this is why you see Tinubu is doing everything. He has commissioned so many social media influencers to demarket, Ibrahim Traore. We can see that some people right now is media aid. One Dayo Olusegun has started saying that it is all hype, that anybody that thinks Burkina Faso is working should migrate down there. Some people are even now cursing him that very soon Ibrahim Traore will fall. And these are the issues that we have with tribalism in Nigeria. Because most of these people who are currently campaigning against Ibrahim Traore are people who are from the ethnic extraction of Tinubu. And these are the Yorubas. If you take your time and check, who are those campaigning against Ibrahim Traore? Who are those saying that the military junta guy nothing good can come out of him? My question to this social media influencer is, who laid the foundation of the Fourth Republic? It is nothing but a military general called Charles de Gaulle. Charles de Gaulle, a military junta who also came into power through coup, who ruled for at least 4 to 5 years, was able to reposition the French country when the French was being captured by the oligarchs. Charles de Gaulle came in and he restructured the country, repositioned it, until this very day French can boast of democracy. This French coup was still as recent as in the 70s. So when people tell you that the military junta in Burkina Faso, nothing good can come out of it, they are just bittered, they are envious, and it is because their own principal, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is nothing but a failure. Please, if you are just joining, kindly like, subscribe, and share the program. Merci de vous joindre à nous. Bye for now.